Oh, hello everyone. Sorry, no time for a big introduction as we've got a very special guest today. It's only Michael Rosen.
Hello!
Hello, Michael. So you have just pressed the button on the randomiser, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and how did you find the experience? Were there any problems at all?
Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay, well in that case, which episode did you get?
Survival.
Ah,
I think you know what I mean.
I certainly do. Here's UFO.
Nice. And off we go.
So, welcome back to UFO on the randomiser, and oddly enough, this was an episode that was being discussed on the podcast just a few weeks ago by the one and only Ms. Samira Ahmed, who was talking about this episode for reasons that we shall go into later on, because I'd quite like to talk about some of the points she raised there as well. Anyway, we at present have a UFO sneaking onto the moon, apparently undetected by Moonbase. And I don't know if I've ever said before, but I really love the look and particularly the sound of the UFOs. Just these evil spinning tops. It's a beautiful design and a gorgeous sound. And I do wish that we could have seen even just a little of the interiors. I know we saw a bit in Foster's Nightmare in Ordeal. Doesn't really count though. Anyway, we now have one alien has snuck out onto the lunar surface with a gun, and he's taking aim at Shadow Moonbase. And this is an interesting shot that establishes there's more than one floor to those spheres.
One more day to go. Yep, one more day. Then, back to my favorite planet.
Which one's that?
Earth.
Oh, I thought he might say Tatooine or something.
You know, Grant, we're going to miss you.
Sure.
No, really, I mean, having a character like you around really breaks the monotony.
Well, I'd love to stay, really, but,
Oh, I know. You got 100 chicks just waiting for you to call.
well, let's not go overboard. 80 or 90, maybe?
Oh, this is Bill Grant. He's a real character. He's they'd be really sorry to lose him. He's a good egg. Everybody loves this Bill Grant guy. I'd sure hope something doesn't happen to him. In unrelated news, an alien has just fired a bullet through the Leisure Sphere window. Yeah, I hadn't really realised until relatively recently that these spheres have more than one floor. The interior of Shadow Moonbase has never made a whole lot of sense to me. There doesn't seem to be much room, and the base has certain functions that the exterior doesn't seem to allow for. But anyway, Paul Foster and astronaut one day to retirement playing cards while there's a crack growing on the window.
Thank you, sir.
Hey,
So Foster's lent him his lighter because, you do things like that for Bill Grant because he's just one of a kind. What would we do without him? Uh-oh.
Pressure leak!
That's it, the window has blown, and Foster was able to get to the door, but poor old Bill, oh no, he's not going to make it. Air is leaving the room very quickly, as are lots of magazines and various bits and pieces. I like the way as well they establish the change in pressure with the balloon of Straker's face that someone's drawn on it, getting bigger and bigger as the pressure changes. Poor old Bill, he can't get to the door, despite all those many, many women waiting for him back on Earth because he's just so, he's so wonderful and manly. Unfortunately, it looks like we'll have to manage without him and his chest hair and his medallion. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's doing a really good job here as Foster. He's trying to hold the door open, he can't make it, and just the look of absolute horror in this Bill Grant's eyes. Now as all the air is gone, yeah, that's it for poor old Bill Grant. Oh Bill, what are we gonna do without you? But never mind, we fitted a new window anyway. I've always found this music, it's nice music, but it doesn't really quite fit with the fairly unpleasant death we just saw for such an important person as Bill Grant. It's nice and happy and jolly. Tra-la-la-la. Bill Grant is dead. Bill Grant is dead. There's his body covered by a sheet. See, it doesn't quite fit. It's too upbeat, but it's a nice tune.
New port secure and tested. Repressurized.
Mark is checking the seal on the new window. Everything's fine, so Foster can now come back in. Oh dear, he's not happy. And something that we will also touch on throughout this episode, because it is quite important, this is Michael Billington's first episode in production order, replacing actor Franco De Rosa as the previous Moonbase commander, who was sacked after, well, a few days unidentified, I believe.
I want every part of the sphere searched. I want the remains of that port collected from outside and reconstructed.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I want the answer.
And here we go, a very unusual shadow vehicle.
Lord William Grant, killed in the line of duty, April the 12th, 1981.
Had lots of birds waiting for him back on Earth. Is it sending his body off into space in a capsule? Presumably he had no family who might be interested in having his body back. It's just, nah, we'll send it off into space. Can't keep it here. It is quite a poignant image, though. I've always found in this show just one lone astronaut spinning off into space, into the vastness of space, whether it's this show or 1999 or Thunderbirds. And this is a similar kind of thing, although it loses something not seeing the body as such. We just see the capsule anyway.
There's your answer.
Mark has reconstructed the window, which is very good of him. And it shows the fracture left by the entry of the bullet. And we now pan over to Shadow, where Straker is also reviewing the same pane of broken glass.
We've calculated that the projectile was fired from a group of rocks about 200 meters from the base. The chemical analysis hasn't told us much, except it's part alloy. One of the constituents is unknown on Earth.
Oh, they found the bullet too.
Now you're saying that a UFO landed on the moon, undetected, and one of its occupants got out and fired this projectile at Moonbase.
3 days ago, a particularly large stream of meteorites played havoc with our tracking system.
Oh, meteorites. Normally it's sunspots.
Then just taken off again after the attack.
No, the interference didn't last long enough. It's still somewhere on the moon. I've had the interceptors searching for the last 24 hours.
And if they find it?
My orders are seek and destroy.
And who are you in relation to this series?
When is the next lunar launch possible?
At 1400 hours tomorrow, sir.
Oh, Jeremy Wilkin answering the intercom there.
Alec, I'm going back to Moonbase with Commander Foster.
Well, Commander Foster. They say that a few times in this episode, and that never sounds right.
Well, Alec, could you get me everything we've got on the disintegration of UFOs in the Earth's atmosphere?
Give me 30 minutes.
It shouldn't take that long. You probably don't have that much.
I want you to countermand your orders to the interceptors. Tell them to seek and observe. Yes, I know.
Doesn't sound as cool.
Action is to want to hit back. I liked Bill Grant, too.
We were to be married.
We know that a UFO disintegrates if it stays too long on Earth. All of our evidence suggests that it has some reaction with our atmosphere.
And there's no atmosphere on the moon.
Ooh,
Exactly.
he's got it.
This may be our best chance ever to get our hands on a UFO. Intact. We won't be able to leave for another 23 hours. Why don't you go somewhere and unwind?
Yeah, I think maybe you're right.
He's, oh, he hasn't finished his glass there.
You can contact me.
I think I know where.
Yeah, very strange that they would introduce Foster in this episode as such a strong and vital character to the series, and just think this would fly without giving him a proper introduction, which thankfully they did in Exposed. I wonder how far they got into this episode actually before they realised, hang on a second, we're giving this guy so much screen time, we made him so prominent, we really need to explain who the hell he is. Because if you watch in production order, it's just, it makes no sense. Who is he? Where's he come from? So I'm glad that they did go back and, well, not go back. Oh no, in a sense they did go back, because they went one back in order to put an introductory episode in for him, even though it was made after this. Anyway, we're now over at Suzanne Farmer's groovy pad. She was a regular ITC girl on things like The Saint and so on, but this is her only Anderson appearance, I think.
Oh!
Which is a shame because I really like her in those shows. She's often given very sort of thankless the girl parts, and she always does a lot with them.
They're beautiful. What would you call?
A very end of the 60s, here comes the 70s, but we're pretending it's the 80s pad she's got going on here. A great big pink elephant in the corner of the room. And Foster...
Oh, Foster. You'll be home in time for supper.
Being driven home by Ed Straker for some reason.
Home? Moonbase.
After an afternoon spent, well, playing with the pink elephant, I suppose. Oh no, lunar module time. I hate this thing. It's so slow. I mean, I know oh goodness, I don't even want to talk about this thing. The longest sequence of the lunar module is undoubtedly the beginning of Computer Affair, but I can see by my timeline on my project file here, this is going to run at least 30 seconds, and it's pointless and it's padding. I suppose you can get away with it in early installments if you haven't seen this shit before. Hey, this is brand new, but when you've seen the show once or twice, or in my case, at least a dozen times, I would suspect, the lunar module just slows everything down. It is an absolute slug of a vehicle, and they insist on showing us every single stage of its journey. We are now coming up on a full minute of the lunar module. I just wonder what else they could do with this time. But, hey-ho. Maybe they could explain how the heck anybody ever actually gets off this thing when it gets to Moonbase, because
Tell one of those astronauts to get those aerial photos in here fast.
I have no idea.
First thing he'll ask for.
The second thing, Space Tracker Harrington. The first thing is a cup of coffee. Perhaps you'll be good enough to organize that. Miss Barry.
Yes, sir?
I met your father about a month ago. I was happy to tell him I think you're settling in extremely well.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, after 10 years working for Shadow, I think I can now say you've settled in very well.
Sir.
Oh, Harrington. That's with cream and sugar, please.
Yes, sir.
I like Joan Harrington. I like the sort of sauciness and sassiness and
It's in there.
yeah. Again, that was something else that happened in Confetti Check AOK. They show that Nina Barry was with Shadow at the very start. Same as with Keith Ford.
How long would it take a moonmobile to get into that area?
Both of those characters are told, "Oh, you've only been with us a little while."
I suggest we use 2 mobiles, a couple of men in each.
Fine. Who do you suggest as crew?
I'd like a crack at that, sir.
Thank you.
Mark can handle it.
Yeah,
He knows the area.
and he's been with the series longer than I have.
Thank you, sir.
Now, that just leaves the other moonmobile.
I'll pick my own crewmen as well. I suggest we use a missiles operative.
As Moonbase commander, your place is in the control sphere.
Maybe, sir. But I was the one who saw Bill Grant's face as he tried to make it to that airlock.
Oh, that wins the argument. Yeah, everyone calls Foster Commander through this episode,
3 miles from Terminator.
which in theory would put him on equal par with Straker. I know he's technically just commander of the moon base, but I don't recall Gay Ellis being called Commander when she's in charge.
He'll soon be in darkness.
So it's another one of those early installment weirdness things that thankfully doesn't last too long.
To mobiles. Maintain close visual contact.
Roger, control.
Anyway, we found the UFO from aerial observations, and we've sent out 2 mobiles
Don't worry, sir. I'll be breathing down your neck all the way.
to go and investigate. We've got to get this UFO intact. And the moon mobiles are very obviously a lift from
Miles from target.
the same. Were they called moon mobiles in Captain Scarlet? I think they were.
And the interceptors in. Is that understood?
Understood.
And it's nice that they sort of learnt from past mistakes that they made with that thing, although it looks really good. And the articulation of the Captain Scarlet moonmobiles jumping up and down as it sort of plods its way along the surface, again, did eat up a lot of time. Whereas with these ones, although they're largely the same design, or at least heavily influenced by the Scarlet Lunaville ones, unsurprisingly, because I think they're both designed by Mike Trim, it's just so much nicer to see them speeding across the lunar surface rather than that strange glumping motion that the Scarlet ones did.
We should be able to see them from the top of the next ridge. We'll leave the mobiles here and go in on foot.
Roger.
Right, let's go.
Now, when I first saw this episode as a kid, this was, I believe, the third episode that was shown on the BBC after Identified and Exposed. So this was our first taste of spacesuit action, lunar surface action for UFO. I know there was the bit in Flight Path at the end of that when George Cole has got the rocket launcher and he's taking down the UFO. But I kind of like opening the series with Identified, Exposed and Survival rather than Identified, Computer Affair and Flight Path. That's just personal choice, personal taste there. Everything seems quiet on the UFO front. They've found it, but it's not doing anything. Foster's scanned it with a variety of props.
Control, have positive sighting of UFO. In the center of a crater, just as it was in the aerial shots, it hasn't moved.
What does it look like?
Difficult to say. But from its attitude, it could have been damaged on landing.
What about the radiation check?
Negative. It's just sitting there.
Well, I suppose it's just possible it might be abandoned.
There's only one
As
way
a
to find
former radiation specialist, Klaus Hergersheimer, I feel this is an important question to raise.
Right. Yellow alert.
Ooh.
Who's first in line?
My privilege.
I'll follow you.
Then Brad and Don. Any questions?
We can't risk Brad and Don as well.
Remember, they're expendable. We want the UFO.
I do like as well watching these lunar surface scenes, comparing them to 1999's, and you can see that there's a nice evolution. The landscape in 1999 looks so much more, well, I don't want to say realistic as such, but less like a studio. I think the trouble with UFO being out on the lunar surface is it sometimes feels very overlit. It certainly does in this episode, but again, it's early days for this kind of filming, and also they haven't perfected. They're not even attempting to do any sort of slow motion walking or moving here. They're just walking around as normal. It may as well just be a standard hike in the country. So Foster has got as close as he dare to the UFO. He's waving Mark and the others in, but oh dear, now it started glowing.
Hold it. Get out.
And Michael Billington, although this is by far not his greatest performance in the role of Paul Foster.
Red alert.
He really looks the part. He really looks like a leading man, like a proper hero. I can understand why the Andersons went with him.
Computer for attack.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, now sending in those interceptors. Well, that's quite an effective model shot as well. The UFO is firing at three of our cowering astronauts, and they see the little figures on the model set behind a ridge. You only see the shots very briefly, but it does look quite impressive as the UFO laser hits it and there's explosions going off everywhere. Oh, Foster's made it back to the group.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Straker says to pull out.
We're pinned down here. Look, I'll go get a moonmobile.
What if the UFO takes off?
It's a chance I've got to take. Give me 2 minutes.
2 moonmobiles for 4 people. Are 4 of you going to fit in one?
ETA target 4 minutes.
I suppose we'll find out.
How soon will you be clear?
At least that's the idea.
Minutes, sir.
Oh, Foster's run into a very wobbly lunar rock, banged his knee, and that's it.
What's the holdup?
We'll be clear any minute now, sir.
Pull back to the mobiles.
Oh, they can't hear him.
Come in, Mark. Can you hear me?
So we cut back to Mark and his gang of 2 every so often.
Come in, Mark. Can you hear me?
Standing around completely clueless.
Come in, Mark.
Oh no, Foster's radio is gone.
Something must have gone wrong. Come on, let's go.
He's probably dead or whatever. I don't know why they all couldn't have gone at once. Except for, as always, the needs of the story. Anyway, the UFO is taking off.
The interceptor leader has visual contact. The UFO is lifting off.
Order the attack.
I like seeing Straker sat at the central moonbase desk there as well. Come on, our 3 interceptors are closing. And they hit it first time. What are the odds? But now the UFO is coming down on top of Mark and his crew. And it hit one of our 2 moonmobiles. Oh, that's it. Both blown to bits. And the other moonmobile is probably a bit singed.
Maybe he was thrown clear.
Yeah, right.
There was 1 chance in 10 million.
It could happen.
Well, you said yourself the moonmobile was totally destroyed. No.
What about Brad and Don? Do they not have any insights? No, everyone's just assumed Foster is dead. Even though he's... we see on the model shot he's lying like 2 feet away from the from where the UFO hit the other mobile. I mean, if they got into the other mobile to go back to Shadow Moon Base, they would have been looking straight at him from the cockpit as they left. Yeah, I can't understand why they don't see Foster. It's not like he's hidden. It's not like he's buried. He's right there in plain sight, and Mark and the others just, no, we'll go home. It's fine. That now means Foster, alone on the lunar surface, with a broken radio, and everyone apparently having given up on him. It's strange as well to see Straker sort of go, no, he must be dead. If I thought there was a chance, but he's dead. No, in later episodes, he would have a limb chopped off rather than risk losing Paul Foster. And poor old Paul, plodding away under the heat of the sun, not getting very far at all. I suspect Michael Billington has just walked from one end of the set, turned around and gone back again. There aren't... I think I recognise that rock. I think he came through here earlier. Oh, so Foster has now noticed another set of footprints. Definitely not his, as he's sat here perusing a map, trying to figure out how to get back to base. He's got his gun at the ready, scouring the horizon for any aliens. Unfortunately, he's missed the one sneaking up behind him. It's not a Mysteron. The music would suggest that it was. A very rare reuse of Captain Scarlet music there. I don't think you ever hear the Mysteron's theme in another series, because why would you? It's so immediately associated with them.
Badly damaged, it was a miracle it made it back to base.
The moonmobiles can be replaced.
And Commander Foster can't.
Stop calling him a commander.
That's one of the reasons I'm staying on here for a couple of days. A new commander will have to be appointed.
I didn't mean that.
I know what you meant. Look, Alec, there's one thing you can do for me. Foster had no close relatives, but there was someone.
A girl?
Yes. She was as close to him as anyone. I think she should be told.
All right. What's her name?
Tina Duval. Apartment 19. Windermere Hall.
Right.
How does he know her address without checking? It would be more realistic to say, oh, I don't know, it's on. I left it on a scrap of paper in my office somewhere. You've probably got it on the desk in front of you, but no, Straker seems to rattle that apartment number off quite easily, almost as if he knew. Anyway, Alec has now headed over to see Suzanne Farmer, who doesn't seem to have much of a life beyond just waiting for Paul Foster to turn up, really.
Miss Duval?
Yes?
My name is Alec Freeman. I'm a friend of Paul Foster.
And I suppose it must have been strange for Ed Bishop and George Sewell to suddenly have this third main character pushed into the mix and then be told, no, he's always been there, Yeah, very important. He's friends with both of your characters. Anyway, Foster is having a very hard time of it. Or at least he's pretending to. He's fallen over again. The alien has got both of their guns. Foster seems to be running low on air, but he's also got his eye on the alien's gun. Oh. Well, he made a grab for it. Very half-hearted grab that the alien wasn't prepared for, but he got it. Aiming straight at his head, because this is the alien who probably killed Bill Grant. And I love the alien just... what is that he's trading him? He holds up his hand, and there's... I think it's a valve of oxygen, or it could be cartridges for the gun. Either way, Paul, well, he's just given up again. And here we go. This is the scene that Samira was talking about just a few weeks ago between Commander Straker and Mark Bradley, as played by Harry Baird.
12 hours.
A rare sight of someone wearing the skydiver uniform on Moonbase.
You realize how important this base is. It's a vital link in our defense system.
Oh, really? No, nobody told me.
Commands it has got one of the most responsible jobs in Shadow. I'd like you to consider it, Mark.
Yep, we're down to you.
You're offering me the job, sir?
Yes. Does that surprise you?
Not altogether. And does it surprise you if I say no?
And before we get too far into this scene, I want to say I like what they're trying to do.
You've done your duty. You've asked. And I've given you the no you wanted.
What do you mean, I've done my duty?
Sure.
I don't think it quite works, but I admire them for trying to say something.
So, I offer you the command of Moonbase, and you say no. Why?
Because of this.
Oh, don't give me that. Racial prejudice burned itself out 5 years ago.
Yeah, I still have the commemorative tea towel.
All right. On the surface, maybe. But deep down inside of people, it's still there. Maybe it will never show. And maybe it will. Like sometime I'm ordering a guy out on a mission. A time the chances are he won't be coming back.
Look, I'm not offering you some easy number. And I don't care if you're a polka dot with red stripes. You're the best man for the job. Now, do you want it?
Yes, sir. I would like it. But not like this.
So yeah, there's several reasons I don't feel this quite works.
You get some rest, Commander.
Primary reason, I don't think Harry Baird is a particularly strong actor. I think I've spoken about this before with Computer Affair. He's one of the least convincing actors in the series, unfortunately. But also, it's difficult. I used to find the naiveness of that racial prejudice burned itself out 5 years ago thing, as if, we can put a date on it. That was a bit of silliness we all went through, but now we are officially past it. It's a nice thought. And again, it's very forward thinking of the Andersons that, this is presumably a world where, for the general, the general consensus is we're not racist anymore. But as Samira said, Straker's response of "I don't care what colour you are" is doesn't quite fit either the character or the tone of what they're trying to do, and I admire them for trying with that scene. I just don't think it quite works as they intended. Certainly it's a legitimate point that Mark is raising. It would have been nice to have explored that a bit more fully, because it's a huge idea to just throw away in one scene like that. But yeah, again, that is a discussion that you can have, as Samira did with Jamie a few weeks ago. And I saw on Facebook a few people leaving comments of sort of, "Oh, here we go, woke PC agenda." But no, you can have discussions about these programs. They're not going to fall apart if you have an honest, objective, rational discussion about, sometimes these shows were a bit male gaze. Sometimes there was a bit of unfortunate sexism. I mean, Fireball XL5, oh my goodness. Same with that, racial prejudice burned itself out 5 years ago. It's naive, but you know what? I admire the optimism that's inherent in that statement, because here we are, more than half a century after this episode was made, and let's be honest, we're nowhere near that world, are we? Anyway, if I haven't caused a load of people to turn off there, meanwhile, Foster, has been given some oxygen by the alien, his new friend, and they're currently having a discussion through nodding and finger waggling and such over the best way to get back to Moonbase. Meanwhile, our new Moonbase commander, Mark Bradley, is arriving to take command.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Wearing his nice, shiny new uniform. It's also strange to establish that Moonbase, we need a commander. We've got to have a commander. There's got to be a man in the center seat wearing a...
I'd just like to say we're glad to have you with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Wearing a silver suit. And, well, hang on a second. First episode of the show...
This is Control to Moon Mobile 3.
It was Gay Ellis was sat there. A lieutenant, not a commander.
You've sent out a mobile?
Yes, sir.
To the UFO crater?
Yes.
What?
I did not know I needed your permission.
You don't, Commander. Carry on.
If you want to conduct some sort of search for Paul Foster, I mean, I was happy to write him off as dead, but, you know, you do you. Meanwhile, back out on the lunar surface, Paul Foster and Chum have become firm friends. They're helping each other to cross a ravine now. The alien apparently thought to bring some rope, or one of them thought to bring some rope. Oh, and he's testing it, making sure the line's good to cross the... to be honest, I can't quite get what's going on here. Somehow the alien has gotten to the other side of the ravine ahead of Foster to install the rope, and now Foster is slowly making his way along the rope, overhanging this crevasse. Again, how did the alien get to the other side? He hasn't got like a jetpack or anything. Did he jump? Did he fly? Dunno. But I do like, going back to the racism angle from the Mark Bradley scene, I like the way it is sort of subtly reflected in two men from completely different civilizations, but they are helping each other and coming together, and you know, despite the fact that this is the alien who, of course, killed our poor friend Bill Grant, but it's okay because the alien is our friend now too, and he's helped Paul Foster make it to the other side. Somehow, it's one of those sequences where I don't think the live action set and the models and the editing quite establish what's going on. But Foster's happy the aliens been enormous help to him again. But this is an early example of you would see in later sci-fi shows of one of our heroes is forced to work with an alien or an antagonist or an enemy or whatever. They've got to band together in order to survive. This would be probably one of the earliest examples of that, I would have thought, on sci-fi television. I've got to say, this one has never really done much for me, to be honest, and I think it's because of these sequences out on the lunar surface.
I'll take her a couple of degrees over to port.
They just feel like they've gone on forever.
Miles on. We'll go round it. Right.
And really, they haven't. They only take up about half of the episode. But whenever I think of this episode, I just think of two men stumbling around on a lunar surface set in almost total silence. Because that's something, oddly, you don't hear when people are walking on the moon in UFO. You don't hear footsteps, whereas you do in 1999. It's an interesting comparison with how these two shows went about creating a lunar world in different ways. Meanwhile, Foster and the alien, they're having a man-to-man moment. They're both looking into each other's eyes and nodding.
See what you mean. About what? That crevasse field straight ahead. Rough terrain.
Well, it's clearly taken a lot out of the alien. He's fallen asleep. Yeah, this is a good showcase as well for the show's resident alien, Guito Santana, who played at least 90% of the aliens on this show. No matter the fact that he died in the previous appearance, he would still come back to be the alien next time, probably because very few people would want to be inside that suit and have those contact lenses in. Foster and the alien are just about given up, and Foster can see a moonmobile on the horizon. One thing actually that I've always wondered about this episode, and I said one of the reasons I'm not a fan is because of these endless scenes on the lunar surface. At least it feels like they're endless. One thing I might have done with this episode, if I had been in charge,
Help! Help!
or if I'd been in the editing room, is maybe frame it as something of a flashback. Start out with Foster and the alien on the lunar surface, and as they make their journey back to Moonbase, we have flashbacks showing how they got into this situation in the first place. It might have helped some of the pacing with this. But, you know, a lot of it is two people stumbling around in silence.
Venus!
Which doesn't always make for riveting television.
Hey! Hey! Come on, wake up! We're saved! They've seen us!
I think you do come to like this alien, though, by the end of the story, and you like Foster's relationship with him.
Bring an air cylinder, hurry!
But again, we're coming to one of UFO's typical downbeat endings.
We're safe. They found us. Now, you stay here. Do you understand? You stay here.
Yeah, Foster's going out to meet two men from the mobile. He's very excited, telling his alien friend all about it. Well, Foster made it all of 3 feet away from the alien. Again, I don't think this episode establishes a geography of sets very well. It looks like Foster has collapsed and been found by the Moonmobile pilots like 2 feet away from where he was with the alien. I suspect they had a very limited number of lunar surface sets for this episode. Probably just the same space redressed. And with no radio...
Listen! There's an alien!
Foster has to shout to his rescuers.
Yeah. He saved my life, he's a friend!
And even then they can't hear him.
Okay, Commander, we can't hear you. Right, let's lift him up.
One of these actors, I can't remember his name, but he later returned in the Dalatech affair. He's one of the personnel at the Dalatech base. It's a rare example of an actor returning to the series.
He's a friend!
Take it easy.
And going from working in Shadow to working in an organisation that doesn't know anything about Shadow. Normally it was the other way around, when people made return appearances on these shows.
Shall we carry him, sir? Hold it a minute. Listen.
That's clever. Pressing his visor to Foster's visor.
He saved my life. An alien.
Oh, but the only thing he hears is...
He said something about an alien. An alien.
And the other guy is just like, right, I'm gonna bag me an alien. He's got his gun.
No.
Oh, Foster's...
No.
Oh, no. Can't kill the alien. Oh, the alien's getting up to meet the shadow guy and... dead. Oh, no. Foster's lost 2 best friends in the space of a few days. Oh. Again, I would have liked to have seen some fallout from the idea of, if not a friendly alien, then an alien who was willing to work with Shadow. But with this and with a question of priorities, there's no real discussion of just what that might mean. I would have loved to have seen him get back to Moonbase with Foster, but anyway.
I don't understand. I'm told you're dead. Then you're alive. You walk in here as if nothing has happened. I can't take it anymore.
You've always known there are things I can't tell you.
About your job. But does it come before everything? Even me?
Well, it depends if I've always worked for Shadow or if I used to be a test pilot who now works for Shadow. At this point, I don't know.
Sorry.
No, that's it.
My Paul.
Oh, he's walking out on Suzanne Farmer and her pink elephant.
Paul?
Oh, you said you wanted him gone. He's gone. Gone for good. Gone to have a long string of other lady friends on a weekly basis. Oh, that's it. Now, Alec Freeman is driving him home today. He's Paul's designated driver.
I'll buy you a drink, Alec. Fine.
At this point in production order, I basically know nothing about you, but I'm always up for a drink. And that was Survival. And, well, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of this episode. I certainly don't think it's a bad one. I think there are some some pacing issues. I don't think the show is as sophisticated as it would later become to handle some of its ideas, particularly as we've discussed the Mark Bradley racism was over 5 years ago thing. It's I kind of wish you could take this script and have it produced during the Pinewood era, just to see if it would have been more effective, if the pacing, there's some way we could fix this episode. It's not bad, it is just quite slow, and I think with a bit of a polish, bit of faster direction, something a bit slicker production, we could have something really good here. As it is, some good ideas, and poor old alien, he killed the alien. That's not fair.